Hello, friends. Working with wild animals always comes with considerable risks, and even more so when these animals are predators. But there are people who make friends with predators, which is like walking on the edge of a razor blade, since no one could ever know what the wild animal is thinking. This incredible incident happened to a volunteer, Dolf Volker. This man is a photographer and zoologist who had a once-in-a-lifetime experience which completely changed his outlook on life. He had recently lost his dog, who passed away in his arms. So the man was devastated and didn't know how to get over his grief. Thus, he decided to dedicate his life fighting for animal rights and making people act more responsibly towards endangered species. Dolf decided to become a volunteer. He was part of a rescue team for cheetahs in South Africa. The program was carried out by the nonprofit company CHEETAH Experience, where Volker worked. The company was doing an amazing job. Its workers helped sick and injured animals, mainly cheetahs, nurse them to health, and then release them back into the wild. One day, Dolf had to experience several unpleasant, even terrifying minutes. He lay down on the grass in the hopes of taking a rest and accidentally dozed off. It wasn't long before something incredible happened. A female cheetah was walking nearby and decided to come up to the man and lay down next to him. The man felt someone breathing beside him and woke up. He got pretty scared at first, since he had no way of knowing what was on the predator's mind. But it didn't seem like the animal was planning on hurting Dolf, so he calmed down a bit. The cheetah's name was Eden. She lived at the reserve, but Dolf had only seen her a couple of times before this incident. Cheetahs are very cautious and try to avoid coming across people, but it was different this time. Frequent meetings only brought the animal and the man closer. They trusted each other more with each day. Eden was very affectionate and friendly. No one knows why she chose Dolf to be her friend, but the man was happy about it. Moreover, the cheetah soon realized that licking and biting her human friend wasn't always a good idea. To document his beautiful relationship, Eden was photographed with her human friend. Illegal fishing and loss of habitat have led to a decline in the number of cheetahs and put them in danger of extinction. It's important to pay tribute to people who are selflessly trying to save the wild animals. However, volunteer efforts alone appear to be insufficient. The help of the world community is required. Our next story is about a woman who decided to help a cheetah, and it has a very unexpected ending. Zoo employee Katya was nursing a sick cheetah back to health. It took a long time, and Katya and the animal had developed a strong bond. Unfortunately, sometime later, the poor animal was bought by a circus. Katya hoped that someday she would get to see her four-legged friend again, and 4 years later, something very unexpected happened. This story started when a cheetah was brought to a zoo in a small town in Russia. The staff thought it was strange that being put into a new enclosure, the animal didn't take a walk around, but instead just lay down immediately. And when the animal refused to get up in the morning, while the food in his bowl remained untouched, the staff immediately called the vet. After an initial examination, the vet concluded that the animal could have caught a cold during transportation and could have pneumonia. The cheetah needed to take medicine, but since he didn't touch his food or water, the staff didn't know how to get him to take his meds. Krasavchik, the cheetah's name meaning handsome in Russian, lost a lot of weight. His fur got dull and his eyes turned red. When the predator tried to get up, his legs would shake and he'd immediately lay back down. The staff were worried about the animal, but a young woman named Katya was especially upset. Realizing that the animal might die, she suggested that it might be worth trying to hand feed him. Caretakers didn't like this idea. The risk was too great. After all, Krasavchik was still a wild predator, whose behavior couldn't be predicted. So Katya decided to take matters into her own hands. Keeping it secret from the other employees, she went into the cheetah's enclosure. Krasavchik didn't even turn his head to look at her. The woman took a piece of meat and brought it to the cheetah. He scoffed slightly, as if asking to be left alone. Then Katya tried dipping the meat in water and offering it to the cheetah. The animal began to lick the water and then ate the meat too. Then he sighed and turned away, but Katya's joy knew no bounds. She left the enclosure and ran to the vet to get the meds. Now the woman knew what she needed to do. Katya began to add medicine to the meat soaked in water. That was the only way the cheetah took his food. Soon, the medicine began to work, and Krasavchik got better. A few days later, when Katya came into the enclosure, the animal got up and went over to greet her. The woman petted Krasavchik on the head, and he purred like a little kitten. Ever since then, she came to visit the cheetah every day. Krasavchik was always happy to see Katya and turned to greet her as soon as he heard her footsteps. Katya knew that the predator was always waiting for her. Unfortunately, the next summer, Krasavchik was bought out by a circus. When the cheetah was placed in the transportation cage, he began to thrash about and growl, and Katya couldn't hold back her tears. The woman continued to stand on the road watching after the car long after it went out of sight. 4 years later, a group of circus animals were brought to the zoo to film a movie. Katya heard that among them was a cheetah that went blind 2 years earlier after a serious illness. The woman's heart started beating faster. Could it be Krasavchik? The predator was in a separate room, and Katya followed one of the circus employees there. The cheetah was eating without paying much attention to people, and suddenly, when Katya started asking questions about the animal, the cheetah heard her voice and stopped eating, turning towards her. When the predator meowed sharply, it was all clear. Katya ran as fast as she could to open the cage, and the cheetah, hearing the name Krasavchik, desperately rushed to the woman and buried his head in her hands. It was incredible. After going by a different name for 4 years and going blind, the animal still recognized his human friend. And that's all because kindness and compassion work miracles. And that's all for today, friends. What do you think about these friendships between a man and a predator? Share your thoughts in the comments. Please like the video if you enjoyed watching it, and don't forget to share it with your friends. We'll see you next time.